Have you ever noticed something strange about the loudest critics in the room? Sometimes the people who judge the hardest are fighting the same battle in silence. And few stories prove that more clearly than the complicated connection between Wendy Williams and Whitney Houston. For decades, Wendy Williams built an empire by saying what others wouldn't. Behind a microphone and later behind a television desk, she dissected celebrity lives with fearless precision. Affairs, addictions, scandals, nothing was off limits. Millions tuned in not because she was gentle, but because she was brutally honest. Yet there was one celebrity she returned to again and again: Whitney Houston, the greatest voice of a generation, and a woman whose struggles became public long before she wanted them to be. To understand why Wendy focused on Whitney so relentlessly, you have to go back to the beginning. Wendy Williams was born on July 18, 1964 in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Her parents were educators, her father a teacher, her mother a librarian, and they raised their children with discipline and expectations. But Wendy never quite fit the mold. She was loud, curious, and brutally direct in a world that expected young girls to stay quiet. At school, she often felt like an outsider. Tall, outspoken, and fascinated by gossip and human behavior, she became the kid who noticed things others tried to hide. Radio changed everything. As a teenager, she discovered talk radio and realized something powerful. A voice could become a weapon or a lifeline. After studying communications at Northeastern University, she began working in radio stations across the country. The journey was messy. She was fired more than once for pushing boundaries too far. But listeners loved it. By the early 1990s, her show on Hot 97 in New York had become one of the most talked about programs in the city. On air, Wendy said the things tabloids only hinted at. She exposed secrets. She named names. And when rumors began swirling around Whitney Houston's drug use in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Wendy talked about it openly, years before many mainstream outlets would even acknowledge it. The comments sparked outrage. Whitney's team pushed back. Lawyers threatened action. But Wendy didn't stop. Here's the part most people didn't know. Behind the confidence, Wendy Williams was fighting her own addiction. During her radio years, she struggled with cocaine, quietly entering treatment while still broadcasting every morning. The woman publicly describing Whitney Houston's addiction was battling the same demon herself. Then came February 11, 2012. Whitney Houston was found dead in a hotel room in Beverly Hills at 48. 2 days later, Wendy went on television. Millions expected the usual commentary. Instead, something unexpected happened. She broke down. For the first time, Wendy admitted the truth. The reason she spoke so intensely about Whitney wasn't simply gossip or cruelty. It was recognition. She had seen her own struggle reflected in Whitney's life. The criticism, the relentless coverage, the warnings. It had all come from someone who knew the battle firsthand, but never admitted it publicly. Years later, Wendy's own life would unravel in painful ways. A public divorce in 2019, on serious health issues, and eventually a diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia, a condition that affects behavior and language, the very tools that built her career. At 61, the once unstoppable voice of daytime television now lives far from the spotlight. But that moment in 2012 still echoes, because beneath the headlines and the rivalry was a deeper truth. Two women fighting the same war in different ways. One with music that moved the world. The other with a microphone that exposed it. And sometimes the hardest truth to admit is the one staring back at you in the mirror.